Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Techno Brew. I'm really excited about this. We are talking to networking mavericks Dilya Abushayeva and Elmira Abushayeva from Mavuus, co-founders of Mavuus. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Carla. It's really fun to join you for this chat. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, Thank you so much. Honestly, we're very, very honored.
Well, I'm honored to have you both, and happy birthday to you, Dilya. I understand today is
Thank you. Happy 21st birthday to me.
That's right. Well, I was really wanting to have you on as a guest. You've been in my feed for the better part of a year now since you started your, I guess, lead into launching Mavuus, your networking platform for marketers and all things tech. I think you seem to make networking look so easy, and from personal experience, I know for me it's been quite the opposite, and it's been something that I've had to kind of force myself into getting used to, feeling comfortable, putting myself out there, reaching out to people. This whole platform really is an exercise in that, and so I'm really truly honored to have you both on here, and I'd love to learn how you got to where you are, what your origin stories are. So, who wants to go first?
I can start and Elmira can add to it. So essentially, Elmira and I are both marketers. Coincidentally, we're sisters and we've had very similar career paths. We've been both in marketing for years and we've been in technology for the past 10 years. So again, coincidentally, we've had really similar career paths, which luckily for us worked out really well because you have a sister and we're really close. You can kind of always bounce ideas. You can kind of discuss challenges, etc. So that's been really good. And the one thing that we always also struggled with and shared is our service providers. Like it's really hard to find good quality service providers in marketing or wherever if you run out of your own roster, right? So Mira and I would always go to each other asking, hey, do you know a good agency? Do you know a good provider? Do you know a good designer, writer, etc.? And it's kind of human nature to go to for recommendations, and people do it all the time. So that's kind of like the idea how it originated. Why don't we create a platform that enables marketers and businesses to get together to recommend their favorite marketing providers that they've used and trusted before, so other peers can take advantage of their value as well. And throughout the year, so the platform has been live for a year. And obviously, just like any business, it's been kind of evolving into what it is today. So we still have the capacity of the recommendation engine, but it's now evolving more to be not just a marketplace, but more of a community of senior marketing leaders that get together to collaborate, to learn from the experts, to exchange their ideas, and also to exchange their favorite contractors. So that's what Mavuus is becoming today. Elmira, what would you add?
Yeah, no, you said it very well. So Carlos, I've been in marketing also for over 17 years throughout the, career. My career spent through like marketing consulting company to software companies and been in tech for the last 10 as well. And yeah, it's honestly like I'm almost not surprised, but almost like taken a little bit by surprise, I would say, that I am here today because in terms of where I am, because I always thought that I would be like a big career woman, which I was just like a year ago. And suddenly, your interest, everything changed when you have something that you're really passionate about. You really believe in this and you just want to go for it. And yeah, I left my job this year, 7 months ago, and don't regret even a second for it, even though there's a lot of ups and downs with,
Sure.
your own journey for sure. But I think what keeps me going is that definitely this network thing, right? That this business is really about also a lot of networking. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about how we got there in terms of networking, but overall, this connection with people every day, kind of making new contacts all the time. That's my thing. Like I really, really thrive on it. That's my passion. and I'm really working on it even more. So that's what keeps me going, I would say, every morning.
Sounds like a really good partnership. You really taking on equal parts of the effort to make it Mavis a success, and a lot of that seems to be founded on this innate ability to network and sustain your relationships, which is another thing. It's one thing to reach out and make connections. It's another thing entirely to develop it, to nurture that relationship to the point where you can even consider having a solution like Mavis for
Definitely.
marketers like myself and your peers.
Definitely.
That's excellent. So you both left the marketing world and decided to embark on this venture together. How, I guess, how did your existing network, I suppose, figure into that? So were you able to rally those troops and the developer side, the branding and awareness side? How much of it, I guess, was something that you drove, and how much was a result of your ability to herd the right cats and get them all working together?
Are you talking about like how we put the pieces together to build Mavis?
I am. How did that? Because that's a challenge in and of itself, right? You looking at your portal, your Mavis portal, it is really slick. It's a good looking portal. The way that you um, manage your events is very, very sharp, very refined. That's really
Right,
intentional. So
right, for sure.
making
So
sure you're hitting on all that
thank
takes a
you.
considerable amount of effort,
It's a
right?
huge compliment to us. Branding was something that was really important to us, not only because it's fun to create your own company brand. Like I've developed brand for companies before, but it's very different when you're doing it on your own for your own baby per se. So branding was definitely important. But the second reason that it was really important is because our platform is aimed at marketers, and marketers are visual beings. So for us, it was really important that our website looked really slick, that our platform looked really slick and nice and well designed. So we actually took the time to find a designer that we were really happy with. Luckily, he did come from our network, so luckily he kind of made like all my visual dreams come true. Like I won't exaggerate when I'll say that I'm a very, very particular and picky person when it comes to visuals. Elmira can agree with that, sometimes too much. But when you find the right person, which we did for the design part, yeah, he just made all of our dreams come true. So that's when it comes to the website and the platform and how it looks, etc. But when it comes to the actual like branding in terms of like Mavis and the pink and what it stands for, that consistency that I think you might have alluded to as well, that's obviously very intentional. And Elmira and I kind of in the beginning were thinking, should we become part of the brand, or could we come up with other visual ideas that could identify Mavis? But because it's the platform is based on networking. The whole premise of network is personal recommendation, people meeting and again recommending to each other. And because we've been in marketing for over 15 years, sort of like there's a storyline behind it, so it became very inevitable and critical, and quite frankly very successful, that our faces became part of the brand as well. Like people love the story, like the two sisters. We've been in marketing. How did we come up with the idea? We know the world of marketers. We live and breathe the world of marketers. We don't need to learn about them. We understand them because we are them ourselves. So that's become one of the most successful points in our branding journey for sure. Elmira, I know you have something to say too.
Yeah, I want to touch on, I think you covered the branding part. I want to touch on like you, Carla, said, how the actual network came along in the beginning, right? So as well, I think you never realize how many people you know until you actually have to know it. I think a lot of people just, go like, oh, just, I know a few people and I'm not gonna, I don't know, who do I know really? But then when you really start to touch and like kind of going through really literally all of your background, right? Like you can literally know so many people. And I was lucky enough like that, I think 8 or 9 months ago, I met this older gentleman who is in real estate and he like has a big business and etc. And he told me, he's like, you know how I'm going to teach you how to know how big is your network. Just take your phone and how many contacts you have there. And we looked at my contacts and it was like, I don't know, 300 something contacts, right? And he's like, multiply this contacts by 5. So you're going to be having probably around 1,600 people or so, right, that you know. Yeah. And that was a eye-opening for me that he's right, because those people know other people, they can talk about these things. And I didn't really per se went and just started like approaching everyone in my phone, because I don't think everyone was relevant there. But I took this approach in a way of LinkedIn, and I think that what we did with Dilya initially with Mavuus, where we literally went through all of our profiles in terms of our connections, and went and like literally remember who we know exactly, right? So our network really started from people that we knew from our previous jobs, from our previous just like networking us, like doing something like you wouldn't even remember sometimes. So like I literally have now people who like are fans of Mavuus. They are either from my earlier jobs that I don't like when I was really young, really, and they're like supportive right now, right? And they're working with us, and you'll be surprised how much people like are willing to help you, especially if they did have any connection with you, right? And then of course, like as I said, like that was like a foundation, and then by doing that, you start discovering how many people you actually have, and you actually have much more than you think you do. And I'm sure everyone does. They just never think to tap into it, right? And then is this guy, as this older gentleman was right, like each person knew more, and they would introduce us to more people, and that's how really the network started working and growing for us in Mavuus.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I love how that kind of brings us into our next topic point that I wanted to talk about, was that LinkedIn effect, the LinkedIn multiplier. You said 15, 1,600 connections, probably more. And each of those connections have anywhere from 500 to 2,000 to 25,000. My CEO has like something like 25,000 connections in his network, which is bananas to me. I have, I think, maybe 2,000. I don't know, maybe less. I'm not the Uber networker that I want to be. So that kind of brings me then. So now that you identify you've got this network potential, how does that change your approach? You've got this wonderful product, Mavuus. You've got the dynamic duo. You've got this networking potential. Now you need to start, I think, because they see how successful you are, there must have been a plan, a structured way of networking. So I wonder if you could share some of that. Like, how did you decide to define your goals and who you're going to target and how are you going to target? And can you walk me through that? Because I think it's fascinating and you guys do it so well.
I can start if you want to. Yeah. So I think my big point now pops up in my head is that for me, it was also making a point of making a personal connection, in terms of meaning that actually having a conversation with that person. So of course, as a marketer, I know there is supposed to be like a targeted audience that you are going for. So which we do. Obviously, we have marketers and businesses that we are targeting with our Mavuus platform and community, right? So that's who we want to attract. And whoever either I reached out to, or whoever, let's say, liked my posts, or people like that reached out to me, I made sure to actually schedule a phone call, Zoom call with them. And for the last, I can tell you, but since I left my job for the last 7 months, I probably spoke with over 200 people, if not more. Like that's how and it's honestly, as soon as you have that personal connection over the actual conversation, at least even over Zoom, it's really magical, right? Like, because people get to know you, they see you, they and then they are willing to do more for you than if you would just have a message via LinkedIn or something like that, right? And of course, again, it depends if the person will take of your call, but we're talking about now people who we either knew, who knows us through someone. Of course, they're willing to have a call, right? So I think the main point was to start from people we know or people that know other people that we know, and then have this connection with them initially, right? So that's one of my biggest that stands out for me. Dilya, for you?
Yeah.
For me, I would say one of the biggest success factors, I think, for us has been, it's not just the matter of the number of connections that we have. I don't have a crazy number of connections on my LinkedIn either, but when it comes to online networking, because you're networking online, right? It's a little bit different when you're networking in a room, which I'll talk to as well. When it comes to online networking, I think the basic foundation that I would recommend for others who are starting to like approach that online networking is building that personal brand. And I know it's kind of become a bit of a buzzword these days, and I'm not a fan of buzzwords, but the reason it's such a foundational thing is because it's much easier to reach out to people. It's much easier to try to ask someone a question or a favor or, hey, can we talk? When they've been seeing your journey online for a bit and possibly could have related to it in some way because you're sharing that authentic content like we do. It's much easier. The conversation becomes much more human versus if you have no personal brand and no social presence, no I guess like personality on LinkedIn, and then you randomly reach out to these people that you knew from years ago or whatever. They might reply, sure, but there won't be that human to human connection, less so versus when they've been seeing your journey and your content and the ups and downs that you're going through. I think it creates like empathy automatically. It's kind of like empathetic marketing. Not kind of, it is. And I think that's one of the biggest success factors in our case as well. And I would say that should be the foundational step, as opposed to just building your network and making your connections to thousands of people. I think it's equally important to build that brand, because as we come across different counterparts and we invite people to coffee chats, we come across different people, and sometimes you'll talk to someone and they have a lot of connections, like you said, like 25,000 or something, but then you kind of will start like going through their like social engagement and like the posts they share, and they don't get a lot of likes. That's because maybe they have a lot of connections, but they don't get a lot of engagement, maybe because people don't really know who they are behind the LinkedIn photo, versus like you'll get someone with like 6,000 or even less, and they'll post something and they get like a lot of engagement because people can relate to them and they potentially like them, etc. So I think that's really important as well. And I can also talk to, and I don't know if we want to in this conversation, I kind of would like to talk to a little bit about like offline networking, like networking in a room. That's something
100%.
That's Elmira and I also do. Obviously, like you don't see that, but like we try to go to networking events as possible, because that's also real and it's also hugely beneficial. And the reason I like to talk about it is because while Elmira is extroverted and she thrives on meeting people and talking to people, it gives her energy. On the opposite, like I'm the introvert, and obviously as introverts, like it takes away from me. It takes effort. I can do it well, but it takes effort on my end, and I get depleted at the end of the night or at the end of the day.
Because you're on, right? You got to be on.
Exactly. You have to be on.
And being on takes effort.
Exactly. And I think what has made it a little bit like easier for me, and I think I'm like becoming better and these like live networking events, and we've heard it somewhere, and I think it's really true that networking doesn't have to be, and actually doesn't need to be, transactional. Meaning, yes, you can be very strategic on how to work the room and kind of know who you want to meet and go try to like, chase those people in order to get what you need. But in reality, like, it doesn't need to be transactional. You should just be meeting people as they come your way.
Yeah.
That way it becomes a lot easier on you, because it's just a conversation, it's just a human. You're not really trying to get anything out of them. You're just kind of telling them what you do and what they do, and you never know what's gonna come up. I think it just puts a lot less pressure.
I absolutely love that, and that really resonates with me rather. The inbound marketing approach to networking, and
Exactly.
Elmira, you touched on that as well. Elmira, you said when you just love to connect and have these these meaningful connections.
Exactly.
And Dilya, you too. It's great to see the person behind the profile.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to chase 25,000 connections either, because I want my connections to be meaningful. Not to denigrate anyone who has 25,000 connections, because there are people who I believe have meaningful relations.
They do.
And they recognize people. Like my CEO, for example, we were at Collision, and I swear every 5-10 feet he'd stop. Hey Jim, hey Bob, hey Mary.
Yeah.
He recognized people and their names, and they recognized him, and they had these great conversations, laughed, let's happy, and I was in awe, because that is not me. And to me, that was phenomenal experience, and
you
something that I
trying
remember.
to be like him really hard will also come off as maybe inauthentic.
Yeah, it's not me, and I don't want to be that. This is what I love. And you were describing your personal journey with Mavis through the year, and that's how I got to know you. And I was engaged. We that's how our relationship developed. We kind of got to get to know each other over the past year and a bit, and
right, it wasn't like an
had
immediate
several conversations,
benefit.
and now we're talking here. I don't think,
Exactly.
if it were not for that, I don't think this would have happened.
Also, when it comes to meeting people, and Elmira can definitely agree, like, you never know what that connection or like in-person meeting someone will lead somewhere. Sometimes you meet people and it just seems random. It's kind of like, okay, great person, but like not from my professional network.
Yeah.
And you never know who they're going to introduce you to. You never know like what's going to come out of it. Like, there is literally no networking event that Elmira and I went to that was sort of like wasted. Like, you talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, did you get anything out of this event? And that, like, sometimes people be like, oh nah, this one wasn't really like that good. I literally think no event goes wasted, because you never know who you're gonna meet. Like, we once met this person, and she didn't seem like she was just like from our network, but she was a great, interesting person. And then she's been introducing us to all these like super relevant, great people now that we are like developing relationships with, and we're so grateful to her. So again, like, you never know, as long as you are not being transactional, you're just getting to know people, you're being yourself, you're being nice, and then you never know where things are going to lead.
Yeah, I love that, and I totally agree. At Collision, one of the individuals I met there was actually my first guest on Techno Brew.
Exactly.
He is really involved in a not-for-profit organization that helps steer young women and girls into careers in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, because they're so underrepresented in these fields. And so that got us talking. And then I wanted this platform to be, a platform for diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging. And she seemed like the perfect first guest, and that really got the ball rolling. And I think it is such a great thing to have like-minded individuals like yourselves on this little digital platform here, and it really makes it more meaningful, I think, to the audience as well, because it's not just a room full of stuffy old men. It's people that can be related to, right? And one day I'm going to be a stuffy old man, I'm sure, but I'm not today.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, and I want to just add that I think it's really important also to be in the flow, I would say, kind of like to go and just, just know that you're going to meet the people that you're supposed to meet. Because as I said, like probably when I was younger, I would like run around and try to make as many connections as possible. And sometimes it's very unnatural, as even though I am extrovert, but it was still like very depleting in a way. But when you
Right.
just go and you know that you will be connecting, so literally you can meet people in the food truck line, which Dilya and I have made like really great connections, like literally standing in a food truck line in this event and speaking with someone. And
Yeah.
then they made a great introductions for us. So like just trusting that you are going to be meeting the people you're supposed to meet in this event, even if it's not like 50 people, maybe it's only 15 or whatever that is, right? But they are going to be very valuable to you. That's what you're supposed to be. So I think that's important to kind of keep in mind, even though I know probably some people would not agree with me, but that's our approach.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the organic networking effect can't be undersold, right? There's something really special about that. That's how I've met a lot of great people. How so you mentioned I'm really glad you brought up in-person or offline events, Delia. You're doing a mix of both. Your networking efforts seem to be probably more heavily weighted on the online side, but is there a percentage you have in mind when when you are planning your yearly calendar in terms of networking events? Is it an 80-20 thing, or is it more 90% online, and then whatever interesting offline events pop up you might decide to do ad hoc? How does that kind of work for you?
I mean, I'd love to say that we are trying to do both as much as possible, but obviously that's not realistic because, there's only so much bandwidth and time. I would say probably more online just because obviously we have to do it consistently. Like there is obviously the consistency aspect to it that we have to
Yeah.
do like a few posts a week. Otherwise, there's algorithm behind it, etc.
Sure. Yeah.
So I would say definitely don't have a percentage in mind, but more so. But events, no, I wouldn't say ad hoc. Like we're actually working really hard, even like for 2024, to have a good list for us to go to a bunch of networking events, conferences, etc. I mean, ideally, I'd love to go to like one networking event a week. I know it's probably not realistic, but if it were possible and if we were maybe lived closer to the city, so it wouldn't be such a
Yes,
huge
of course.
commute. Because again, like there isn't has been one event so far that we didn't go to that we wouldn't benefit from, no matter what the
Yeah.
event is.
100%, and that's definitely the challenge, the commuting challenge.
Right.
I live in the city, and I get so caught up in my work, and I work from home, much like you both do. And there's always something to do. There's never a shortage of tasks to accomplish. And I've actually made it a bit of a resolution myself in this next year. I want to try to make it to at least two networking events each month. That's
It's a good goal.
probably, yeah, it's I think it's an achievable goal. And if I make it to one a month, I'll be happy, truthfully. But it's certainly better than this year has been. I haven't been going to as many in-person events as I'd like to. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thanks for bringing
And
that up.
it is a bit of a like muscle building, as I said, like it's not something that comes super naturally to me personally, but it is a bit of a muscle building, just like anything else, just like
Yeah.
physical muscles. Same goes for like building skills, right? Like the more you go to, the more natural it becomes to you.
Yeah, and I feel both of you have because I follow both of you, and I'd love to see your posts, and they're very value oriented. There's great content in there, and I think that really helps attract um, the network. And the diversity of your connections seems to be quite varied as well,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. And you're consistent, and you've got this air of teachability as well. There is a very self-aware and humble and earnest approach that you have. I feel all in all, to me, it tells me you are very adaptable, and you are very, I guess, emotionally,
Intelligent.
I guess, intelligent, but I didn't want to say that in disparaging way. There's a savviness, there's an emotional sophistication, if you will,
Hmm.
when it comes to your engagements, and that must have been developed over the years, right? And that muscle, like you said, you can't get that innately. I mean, some people can. Yeah, Elmira, you seem like you're born with that ability. Myself, it's definitely a muscle that I have to flex and keep flexing to get to where I want to be. So, kudos to that. Um,
Thank you. We appreciate that. You mentioned like humbleness and diversity and inclusivity. I would say that's just us being authentic. I wouldn't say we have a specific. We probably will have cultural, goals as we develop as a company. But right now, because it's just two of us, it's just kind of being ourselves.
yeah,
So I would say like authenticity is what really comes through. So when it comes to like being humble, Mira and I, it's not like to pat ourselves in the back. We are just humble people. It's just something that we are. So like our goal, our strategy is actually, it's not the strategy to be humble. We are humble. Our
yeah,
strategy is to
yeah,
be as transparent as possible and as reflective of who we are as possible. Same goes for diversity. I wouldn't say we have a strategy to specifically attract like diverse network. I would say we're naturally inclusive. That's just who we are. We're just whenever it comes to inviting people for coffee chats or whatever that might be, our goal is to invite the best. Someone who is passionate about the subject, someone who is great at these things, and it doesn't matter where they come from and who they are. So like I would say inclusivity is just something that comes natural to us, but I'll let Elmira speak about the emotional intelligence part.
No, I think it's to be, like Dilya said, authentic. But what really authentic means is that for you to be just what you truly believe in, right? Like what you truly are in life overall. And I think what was one of our breakthroughs that even on LinkedIn, where we started sharing our personal stories, right? Not just like, saying one, educational thing on marketing, which we obviously do as well. But actually being very transparent and being like, this is what happened to me, right? Or this is like, this is what I'm going through. And I think people connect to that. So that's what I think creates this inclusivity in a way, because anyone, doesn't matter who you are, right? Like you connect to what the person is,
yeah,
if the person is being yourself, like in sharing their story, because any human can go through that story, right? Or any human can feel that, right? So I think that was one of the most important thing, I think, that kind of is helping us. And then also, like, I would encourage anyone to do it, even though I know people are very hesitant to be like real, especially in LinkedIn, right?
mm,
Because it's more professional and etc. And of course, again, you're not going to post some pictures from like bikini on the beach or something, right? So by being yourself, it means that you just share like some parts of your life that you're willing to share, right? And believe it or not, but that brings people closer to you, because you're not just doing educational part, but you actually are sharing your personal, some things that people are relate to. And have to say that all those posts actually attract much more likes and shares than any educational post, just saying. So
yeah,
and then, yeah, Dilya touched on kind of emotional part. I think it's just for you, again, like what you feel, right? Like it's about like how you feel yourself. Like I think that's what really, that's what you share, that's what you kind of get into the world, right, in a way. And again, I know like our professional society have been blocked from like the emotions, really. And again, I'm very big
yeah,
about emotions. I do some other stuff like on the side where I'm helping women with emotions as well. So for me, the emotional part is really, really important for people, just to like kind of, again, be transparent, right? Be like real, be who you are, share this with people, right? Like when you have a calls or you have connections and stuff, sometimes you can just share your stuff even over Zoom call, right? Like it
yeah,
doesn't matter, like, right? Especially if you feel open. I would say that I would rather be more open than not open, right? And I think that's Dilya, and that's the strengths that Dilya and I have. We don't really like hesitant to like be just closed up and be like, this is my cover, this is who I am. But we actually come out as like very open people. And I would, again, I know not doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, but I would say I would work on that part a lot, because that's what actually really attracts people more to you.
I couldn't agree more. I think when you show that authenticity, as you both have said, and your personal accountability, your integrity, your transparency, that it's hard to fake, and people can really see through that pretty easily. So when you're doing it authentically, I feel like the rewards are this wonderfully diverse uh, network that you have. I think that's just the result, because, like you said, it resonates across the board. Doesn't matter really who you're trying to target, because everyone goes through similar life experiences and career experiences, and so um, that's really I think key to what I want to do. And so when I see that, it really makes me feel like I'm kind of going down the right path. So
Definitely.
maybe on that note, we can talk about where people go wrong. Where does it go wrong for people in networking? What should we avoid?
I probably already said it. I think I said like don't be transactional, but people that try to be transactional, and I'll say it in a little bit different way. Like obviously because we network a lot, we also come across very types of different people, and sometimes it's like we're lucky that we are meeting a lot of great people that are willing to help with advice or just emotional support or social support, the likes and the reshares or whatever that may be. Like we've been so fortunate to meet a lot of people on various calibers, like literally, like some of these people are so senior and sometimes they're so humble when I'm talking to them. But there has been people that we've met that are transactional, and it comes across very clearly. It doesn't make them bad people in no way, but obvious when someone is transactional whenever you talk to them on Zoom or whenever and we still engage with them because it's business, and sometimes if it's mutually beneficial we still do. But there's a very it's not something that you can fake or not fake. It comes across very clearly when somebody's just kind of doing it for their own benefit without any thought of also like maybe supporting you or maybe doing some good for you. They're just selfishly doing it for themselves. Again, nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, I do believe human beings are somewhat selfish. We have to be. That's, I think, in our nature. But whenever someone is, super transactional, it comes across very clearly, and quite frankly, lessens your our desire to be super connected with them. Again, it's just natural. There is less inclination for us to be drawn to that person. But sometimes, again, if it's mutually beneficial for the business, we'll still deal with those people. Again, it doesn't make anyone,
on the pitch, right? And
exactly, it doesn't make anyone bad, but no, by no means. It's just, again, there's probably less of that human to human connection there. That's all.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I would say like sending emails, to someone and then they only respond when there is something for them in there. That's like makes you think, right, as well. But it comes, I would say it's the vice versa as well, right? Like when you send something, like don't just think that you email people only for something, right? I think what we forget, a lot of people forget, and I see it a lot on LinkedIn especially, where people just reach out only for certain things, right? Where instead, like, I don't know, like we all talk about, well, why don't you just send something useful? Like maybe there's an article, maybe there's something that you can share first, right? And then ask for something later, right? Like, so we all get to that. Like we all very, as Dilya said, like transaction a lot of times, but I think we need to remember sometimes that, especially when you're trying to develop a relationship with a new person or someone who like, is it something that you want to like kind of do for them instead of just getting right away. I'll give you an example. I'm working on a particular client right now, like a large client actually, and I didn't know like if we're going to work with them or not. And for me, we had a one conversation, and it was nice, but again, there was no promises. She just said she was going to get back to me, and then but I did say something that I could provide for her, like in terms of like some kind of helpful thing that would help her to talk to her boss, right, and convince them to do something overall marketing side. And it took me literally, I had to take about 2 hours to work on this thing, because again, we realized that it wasn't as relevant what I was supposed to send her. And I spent those 2 hours, right? And I create this beautiful analysis for her, and I sent it to her, and she was very grateful. And then literally, I can tell you that in what, about a week, I think, she got back to me and said, I would love to work with you on a strategic side, etc. So I probably wouldn't get that if she wouldn't see how much value I brought to her, that she actually was very helpful. Like, I didn't say like show it that Elmira did it. I said you can use it yourself and do this. Just put your numbers and etc. right inside. So I think just making that extra something that you wouldn't even think of, like that you could just help the person, right? Help them to succeed in their role, to succeed in their. I think that's what's very essential, and that's what people forget. Is then they just ask, right? They just ask for something in return instead of actually providing something to them. So I think I would say that's one of the main keys that I would suggest for people to remember always.
Yeah, and it requires a certain amount of sophistication too. Right? You need to know, you need to be able to read the room, understand who you're talking to, and where you are in that relationship to be able to do that.
That's true.
You put yourself out there. You gave something, with good intention to help a colleague or friend out, and it came back to you. And it doesn't always happen, but I find that more often than not it does, because people see your true colors, and um, they're willing to help. People, I think people want to be good people. People want to help, is what
They
I
do.
think. Yeah, and I mean, just I'm so grateful for you both to be on here, because you touched on something earlier about so much to do, so little time, so much to do,
Yeah.
and so you choosing to be on this digital show with me is huge, because I know time is so limited, and there are things you could be doing in this time, and you chose to be on as guest with me. So to me, that's a very special thing, and it speaks to your generosity, and that kind of paying it forward type of mentality. And so that is that resonates with me, and that's the type of individual that I strive to be as well. So I just wanted to recognize that, because it was a conscious effort on your part to be a part of this. So thank you so much. It's phenomenal. So is there anything that you wanted to bring out that we haven't talked about?
I would say both when it comes to like networking online or offline. Like doing it with joy is what helps. Because sometimes, like for example, like we get busy and like I'll try to like force a post out of myself, and it usually doesn't jive. Not only it doesn't come easy, although I'm a storyteller, like I can write. Not only doesn't come easy, and then I just wouldn't get a lot of engagement. It wouldn't really come from the heart, because I'm kind of trying to force it out because I have to. Same goes for like networking in person, right? Like as long as you're trying to enjoy it and there is like joy in there, versus like again like having a goal of meeting 100 people at this event, and you're like running around like crazy, sort of like desperately chasing people. It comes across as such, right? And like you're also not gonna have fun, as Elmira said, like being in the flow, like just kind of like going with the flow, being nice, being authentic, saying hello to people, genuinely being interested in them, and meeting like even 10 people during the event, but you'll have more fun because you're just being yourself, and like just doing your thing. So I think like doing things with joy, which Elmira is always telling me to, that is really important,
It's a good
I
sister.
think.
Yeah, and I
Anything
want to add.
that you want to?
I want to add to that. I think that obviously, as Dilya said, like this is really, really important. But also, I'm a big believer in energy. And for me, that whenever you network, even if you send the email or even if you reach out to someone, never do it with a bad energy. If you ever like, in this bad mood or something, I would rather you to delay it and do it like when you get in a better mood, because
Oh
people
yeah.
will feel it. And I always proved it to
Oh
me, to
yeah.
myself, and Dilya to herself many times, where you something happened in the morning with your partner or someone, blah blah blah, and you start like working because you have to, and you start reaching out to people. Guess what? No one responds at that moment. Not because, even though in the message you said everything right, there's nothing bad was happened, but no one responds, right? So I think
Yeah.
it's important to like just like get yourself back. If you're not, even if you're going to event, do anything to get back yourself in a good mode, and then only start like either reach out or talk to people, etc. Because otherwise you'll just not get anything, or you'll really like get not something useful for yourself. So that's what my big suggestion for sure.
I love it. 100. I totally agree. We're in this culture of urgency. Everything is urgent.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is so urgent that you can't pause, let the feelings pass, and then
Yes.
send a good email or message to somebody. The worst conversations I have are oftentimes when I didn't pause, and then I say something where my foot is then lodged in my mouth, and I'm in trouble. So
Yeah, yeah.
good words to live by, Dilya and Elmira. Um, if the audience wants to get a hold of you, and I'm sure they will, how do they reach out to you? What's the best way for them to network with you?
For sure. I mean, if they want to check out Mavuus, if they are from the marketing world, they could just check out mavuus.com. That's mavuus.com. Or I would say, like, just to find us on LinkedIn. If they see our names, like LinkedIn is where, again, we share the good, the bad, and the ugly of our journey of being entrepreneurs. And if they want to follow along and just like get to know us, we obviously love meeting new people. So I would say just connect with us on LinkedIn, and we would love to get to know them.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining. It's been an utter pleasure for me, and I can't wait to perhaps meet you both in one of these 2024 offline meetings. And
Definitely, we're looking forward
yes.
to that as well. Thank you so much for having us. It has been actually a really fun conversation. I always enjoy these podcasts because they make you think about certain things. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. And honestly, thank you. It goes back to you as well. Like, thank you for supporting us and being on our journey as well. I think we definitely made that authentic relationship and connection between us. So I'm truly, truly happy to be here. And thank you for having us here.
Absolutely. We like-minded people need to stick together.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Take
everyone.
care.
Bye.
Thank you.
All the best. See ya.